Hey, I'm Randy, and you're watching The Cheap Audio Man. Here at The Cheap Audio Man, we help everyone find high-value hi-fi, home theater, and headphone equipment. And today, we're talking about two of my favorite speakers, the Polk R100 and the Polk R200. Which one is better? Listen, I love both of you the same. Or do I? Before the channel ever started, I got really excited because I had Polk speakers. Still do. Some older speakers. But Polk did a marketing thing where they kind of showed the outside, silhouette of a speaker, and they said, coming soon. And finally, when they released what speaker was going to be, it was the Legend series. Now, these speakers pull a whole bunch of tech from the Legend series. The problem with the Legend series was it was just too expensive for me, so it was a non-starter. So fast forward, I start a YouTube channel, and Polk said, hey, do you want to review the R100s? And this was very exciting for me because it was one of the first times a big company actually sent me a speaker to review. The Polk Reserve series has always held a special place in my heart. But not just because Polk sent them out to me, because they sound really good, and because I think for their price, they are one of, if not the best speaker one can get. As far as specifications, they both have similar or the same sensitivities, at least reported sensitivities, and that's 86 dB. That means how loud a speaker will play at a given power rating. They're the same. So in theory, they should play as loud as each other at the same power. I found that to be the case. As far as driver size, the 100, Polk R100, has a 5¼ inch woofer. The 200 has a 6½ inch woofer. They both have the same tweeter. Low frequency response, that's how low a speaker will go, or at least that's how low the company says the speaker will go. The 200s rated down to 51 hertz. The 100 rated down to 58 hertz. They're both rated around 38 or 39,000 hertz, which means the top end. They both go real high. As far as enclosure size, the R200's quite a bit bigger. They're about an inch taller and about 3 inches deeper. So the 200s have a lot bigger enclosure. They're both braced very well. Inert, which means that the enclosure is not going to start vibrating and cause all sorts of unwanted frequencies. It's going to keep things sounding the way they're supposed to sound. The enclosures are both built very well. They do come in a couple of different colors. This one is fake wood. This one is black. The black vinyl wrap is not meant to look like wood, so it's not black ash or anything. It's just a vinyl covering, a little bit of a rough exterior. This obviously is meant to look like fake wood, and it does look like fake wood. I don't know. I kind of like the wood better, but to each their own, right? Maybe you like the black better. I still think they're both handsome speakers. They have rounded front edges, magnetic grills, heather gray magnetic grills, which is cool. A little bit of a two-tone action with the grills. I think they're both built really well. Pricing. So retail pricing on the 200 is $750. Retail pricing on the 100s is $650. But they both regularly go on sale. The 200s were down to $550 at Best Buy. For whatever reason, they were cheaper at Best Buy than they were at Crutchfield. These will go down to $550 or thereabouts. So you can count on both of these going down in price. I still think at their retail price, they are both worth it. But why pay retail when they go on sale? For my critical listening comparison, I used the song Throw Me Away by Korn off the MTV Unplugged record. I used it because I think it's well recorded, has a big soundstage, and has a lot of dynamics. Also very layered. There is a lot of stuff going on. They even have one of those, I don't know what it is. People rave their hands over it and goes, it makes different sounds like that. They have one of those in there. How often are those used in songs? Not very. For the electronics, I use the Pioneer. I'm going to have to look at this up. I think it's the VSX LX305. I got it right the first time. It is a home theater receiver, but it has DRAC live in it. I disabled DRAC though when I was using it. One of the few home theater receivers that I think is pretty good for 2-channel listening as well. But that review's coming. It's forthcoming. I also listen to these through my Macintosh vintage gear. I had the Denafreps Aries 2 as the DAC and the Weem Mini Streamer, go figure, as the source. For the Pioneer, I used the Pioneer as the source. So the internal DAC, and also they have a streaming function for Tidal Connect. Here's the deal. They scaled with electronics. They sounded better through my Denafreps and the Mac stuff, which makes sense. Soundstage and imaging, which one won? Did Big Brother win? Or did Little Brother win? They both won. It was a tie, actually, but for different reasons. I think lateral soundstage and imaging goes to the R100s. I think depth of soundstage actually goes to the 200s. So when I was listening to Throw Me Away, the audience and instruments seemed like they were layered on this plane, from me to you. It seemed like there was more stuff going on behind the speakers and a bit in front of the speakers. Laterally, though, it didn't jump out to me that, oh, here's Jonathan Davis, here's everybody else. The 100s did a better job with lateral imaging and center imaging, but they didn't do as good of a job as depth of soundstage. Both great for different reasons. Depends on what you prioritize. If you want a large depth, then you need to get the 200s. If you want a better, I would say more definitive lateral imaging, you're going to want the 100s. Just depends. I think you can improve probably the lateral imaging with the R200s. I don't think you're going to get any more depth or soundstage largeness from the R100s. I think you're kind of going to get what you get, because I had both of these pulled out pretty far from the wall. I tried to eliminate, or at least mitigate, as much room interaction as I could with these speakers when I was A/B'ing them. If you're getting any value out of this video, consider subscribing, liking the video, and turning on bell notifications. Why bell notifications? Well, I do a lot of community posts for sales, and that's usually when products are as low as I think they're going to be for a long time. So consider subscribing and turning on bell notifications. You could get a deal on some speakers or something like that. Mid-range. I'll put it to you this way. They sound more similar than they sound different, but they do sound different. The R100s have a cooler presentation in the mid-range, and that might kind of make sense from the woofer size. I don't know. But female vocals were especially good on the R100s. They seem to extract more detail from the source. Tracy Chapman, give me one reason. I felt like there was way more detail coming out of the R100s than the R200s. Conversely, male vocals sounded a bit better on the 200s. There was more richness. There wasn't as much detail on the 200s as the 100s. So the 100s never seemed like sterile. They never seemed overtly analytical at all. They just seemed a bit cooler. R200's a bit warmer. You could say a bit more romantic, a bit more laid back. So it's going to depend upon what you want out of the mid-range. If you want a more laid back presentation, but it still sounds good. And I don't think you're really going to say, oh my goodness, there's no detail if you're just listening to the 200s. In direct comparison, though, the 100s to me had more detail, especially with female vocals. But all in all, I think even acoustic instruments, there was more separation with the R100s versus the 200s. So I kind of give the mid-range to the 100s, but it depends upon what you want. If you want a more neutral presentation, probably the 100s. If you want a little warmer, more laid-back presentation, the 200s. Kind of a draw, maybe. Treble. They both have the same tweeter, so you'd think treble would be the same. And you'd be right. Treble's pretty much the same here. Overall, though, there is different sound signatures, so the R100 seems more focused on the treble, but when I really leaned in, I didn't hear really any difference. There's a little bit more bass going on the R200s. So the treble, I wouldn't say it was covered up, it just wasn't as apparent as on the R100s. Decay is great. Timbre is great. Cymbals sounded like cymbals. They didn't seem overly metallic or have what I would call that aluminum dome, that metal dome tweeter sound. It just sounds metallic, which makes sense. This is a ring tweeter, so it's a bit different. I say this is kind of a great combination between a metal dome and a soft dome. So I think it has a little bit more detail than a soft dome, less metallic than a metal dome. So I think it's a great combination. And I think that's why it was so expensive on the Legend series, because it's a very, very good tweeter. I don't think most people could pick apart the treble on either one of these speakers. I think it's exceptional on both. Seems more apparent on the R100s, but I think it's just the overall sound signature. Bass, no secret here. The R200 with the bigger woofer has more bass presence and extends deeper. But I think the 100 actually has cleaner, tighter, faster bass. And I actually kind of prefer the bass. Yes, this one hits harder, a lot harder, and it's going to play bigger in bigger rooms. But it was never muddy. It was never muffled. It was never putting a veil over the mids. I just didn't think it was as clean as the R100s. And I didn't think instrument separation was as good in the lower mids and the bass than the R100s. The 100s were faster and cleaner. Maybe that makes sense. 200s punch you. They're going to punch you way harder than the 100s. I was surprised with the bass. I thought the 200s were just going to be a walk-away winner as far as everything with the bass, but they weren't. Now, you want quantity? 200s. You want quality? I think the 100s. Still good. Not as good as the 100s. This one plays bigger. This one plays better. I don't know. I was really surprised when I did this video, because when I was planning it, when I was fleshing it out, writing my little notes, I thought at the end I was going to say there's no reason to get the R100s because they are pretty similar in price, even at the retail, $650 and $750, but they will go on sale. This one often goes down to $650 or even lower. I just thought, why even get the R100s? Just pay a titch more and get the R200s, or wait till the R200s are on sale. They're different sounding speakers. It's not just a question of, oh, you want a bigger sound, or if you have a bigger room, get the R200s. They're a different sounding speaker. Yes, they sound similar, especially in the treble area, but mid-range and bass, they sound quite a bit different. The 100 is cooler. The 200 is a little bit richer, a little bit warmer. I think which one you get is going to come down to your musical preference. I don't like saying this because I don't think a speaker should favor one genre of music over the other. I think a speaker, a good one, should play all genres well. But in this case, I think the 200s are going to play better with electronic music, EDM, or whatever you want to call it, rock and roll, metal. Our 200s are more dynamic. They go from soft to loud a lot better. They obviously handle heavier hits. The 100s are still good. They seemed a little bit more constrained in comparison. The biggest surprise for me is that if I could only choose one of these speakers, it would be the R100. And I didn't think I was going to say that. I think the R100s outperform the R200s in pretty much every category, except for treble. Treble's pretty much the same. Mid-range, the vibe is different. This is a little bit more warmer, a little bit more cooler. Bass is faster. Bass is punchier. Overall, though, I think the 100 just does a better job and is more articulate across everything when it comes to the music. Bigger depth of soundstage. Hits harder. But for me, the one speaker I would keep, if I could only keep one, would be the 100s. And again, that blew me away. I didn't think I'd be saying that. I still don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. I think the R200 is a fantastic speaker, and it won Speaker of the Year. So you might be saying, well, why didn't the R100 win Speaker of the Year? Well, I didn't do this comparison yet. So I didn't really A-B them directly. I was going off of memory, and I was going off of being impressed. In a near field situation, I think the 100s are the obvious answer. I think these are too big, and they're going to be too close to a wall. You're going to lose more mid-range clarity, and the bass is probably going to become boomy. By themselves, this bass is not boomy. It's just boomier than the R100s. So I don't think you can really go wrong with either of them. I think this is more articulate. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night, we have Patreon-only Zooms. We also have a Patreon-only Facebook group and Discord server. You can also use the links to buy either one of these speakers. Those are affiliate links, which means if you click and buy, I will get a commission. But it doesn't cost you any more. You can also sign up for Amazon Music or Tidal Music. There are links in the description. If you click and sign up, even if it's for a trial, I'll get a couple of dollars. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen, maybe through the Polk R100 or R200, and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.